Justin Trudeau's carbon tax that isn't a tax, unless it is. Have you ever noticed that the Prime Minister doesn't use the words carbon tax? Well, he's used them a few times. I checked Hansard, the official record of Parliament, and last time I looked it was 3 instances he'd used the phrase carbon tax. For the longest time he preferred the term price on carbon, and then all of a sudden it became price on pollution. Now we know why. It's part of his legal argument for why the carbon tax is constitutional. Ontario and Saskatchewan are challenging the constitutionality of the carbon tax in court. Saskatchewan has already laid out its arguments. Well, now the federal government has submitted their reply. And right in it, they say, this isn't a tax. Let me read to you from their factum. The fuel charge and excess emissions charge are not imposed for the purpose of raising revenues for general federal purposes and are thus not a tax. They argue that point for 49 out of 60 pages of their submission to the court. 49 pages they argue this is not a tax. This is a levy. This is a charge. This is a regulatory regime designed to make people change their behaviors. But then on page 49 they turn on a dime and they say, but if the court in its wisdom finds this to be a tax, then it's still constitutional because we have the powers to tax. Saskatchewan and Ontario are challenging this on a number of fronts, including how it treats federalism, but also, interesting from Saskatchewan's point of view, they say that the way this law is written violates the principle of no taxation without representation. See, that says if you're going to raise taxes, lower taxes, you've got to put it to a vote before our elected representatives, before a legislature, before Parliament. Well, this bill on greenhouse gas pricing, Bill C-74, it says, no, we don't need to do that. Cabinet can do it. Cabinet can decide where the tax is applied, where it's not applied. They can decide what the rate is. They can lower it. They can change what it applies to. They can do whatever they want. That, ladies and gentlemen, goes against fundamental principles of Canadian democracy. So it's up for a challenge. The Liberal argument, their rebuttal in their submission to the court, well, we put it in the law here, so it's in the law that we can do it. The law that allows them to do everything else that's being challenged. It's all a bit of a funny argument, but stranger because Justin Trudeau is fighting so many provinces now on the issue of the carbon tax. If you remember, he used to accuse Stephen Harper of being dictatorial, my way or the highway, mean Steve. And now he's fighting provinces in court. Why? Because they're not doing it his way. It's going to be interesting to see what the courts come up with when they finally render their decision, but it's also useful for voters to remember that what Justin Trudeau promises you, whether it's cooperative federalism or a carbon tax that's not a carbon tax, what Trudeau says and what Trudeau does, 2 different things.